Stoicism, originating from the Hellenistic period, remains one of the most celebrated ancient philosophical schools. It has permeated modern culture, notably through popular media like YouTube channels and podcasts. Many modern interpretations, especially in corporate circles, have simplified Stoicism into tools for productivity and success, often referred to humorously as brosism. This contemporary adaptation tends to highlight traits such as emotional detachment and rational decision-making, which might oversimplify or misrepresent the deeper, more complex Stoic principles. While useful, this version of Stoicism diverges significantly from its rich, historical roots, potentially distorting the original teachings of philosophers like Marcus Aurelius. This trend, though it brings Stoicism into public discourse, only captures a fragment of its true essence and philosophical depth. Stoicism is a philosophical school that emerged in ancient Greece during the Hellenistic Age, becoming one of the era's most influential and widespread philosophies until the advent of Neoplatonism in the 3rd and 4th centuries. Originating in Athens, the heart of philosophical thought, Stoicism derives its name from the Stoa Poikile, or painted porch, a location adjacent to Athens' Agora where Stoics first congregated and engaged with the public. This school of thought has maintained its relevance through the centuries, persisting as a significant philosophical and possibly religious influence to the present day. Zeno of Citium, originally from Cyprus, is recognized as the founder of Stoicism, having studied under the Cynic philosopher Crates, among others. Though Stoicism shares traits with Cynicism, Zeno's teachings evolved into a distinct and influential school. After Zeno, leadership passed to Cleanthes and then to Chrysippus, who significantly shaped Stoic doctrine in Athens. Chrysippus, often hailed as one of the greatest Stoics, wrote over 700 works, though none survive today. However, his influence is understood through secondary references that highlight his contributions, especially in logic. This foundational work cemented the Stoa not just as a philosophy, but also as a structured school, with a series of leaders who built on Zeno's original ideas. Stoicism, part of the Hellenistic philosophy alongside groups like the Skeptics, Epicureans, and Cynics, often engaged in debates with these schools, particularly the Skeptics, who were seen as their main rivals. A common thread among these groups was their admiration for Socrates, though they each interpreted his ideas differently, influenced largely by the discourses of Plato and his academy. Originally focused on deciphering Plato's doctrines, the academy shifted towards skepticism, asserting that absolute knowledge is unattainable, though various degrees of plausibility might exist. This philosophical landscape highlights the diverse interpretations and adaptations of Socratic thought among ancient schools. This brief overview captures the essence of the Epicurean philosophy, which was founded by Epicurus and is known for its hedonistic values. The Epicureans argued that the ultimate pursuit of life should be pleasure, though moderated by reason. A common theme among various philosophical schools, including Epicureanism, is the pursuit of ataraxia, often understood as a state free from disturbance, akin to contentment or tranquility, which goes beyond mere happiness. Achieving ataraxia, a state of contentment free from disturbance, is central to Epicurean philosophy, which posits that the highest good in life is pleasure. Unlike crude hedonism, Epicurus advocates for a nuanced approach, a balanced, aesthetic lifestyle that yields true pleasure and ultimately leads to ataraxia. This aligns with their materialist view that pleasure, derived moderately, is inherently valuable. The academic skeptics believe that true knowledge is unattainable, advocating for the suspension of judgment to achieve ataraxia, a state of mental peace. In contrast, Aristotle and the Peripatetics identified eudaimonia, defined as well-being or flourishing, as the highest good in life. The Stoics regarded typical pursuits of well-being, happiness, health, and pleasure as fundamentally indifferent, lacking intrinsic value. For them, the sole true good is virtue, essential for achieving genuine contentment. Stoicism teaches that living in harmony with nature, as articulated by Stoic leader Cleanthes, is the ultimate goal of life. This principle underscores all Stoic ethics, which are part of a broader philosophical framework divided into three main areas: logic, physics, and ethics. Logic, crucial for the Stoics, serves as the foundational layer of their philosophy, akin to the shell of an egg, with physics and ethics forming the inner layers. This structure highlights their belief in logic as a scientific approach to understanding truth and the basis for exploring other philosophical dimensions. In the Stoic hierarchy of philosophy, logic typically serves as the foundational layer, akin to a shell, with ethics and physics filling in the core layers. Chrysippus, a central figure in Stoicism, is particularly noted for emphasizing this structure and significantly advancing Stoic logic. His contributions to logic are viewed as groundbreaking, positioning him as one of history's most prominent logicians. While delving deeply into Stoic logic is beyond my expertise, it's clear that Chrysippus's work in this area was profoundly influential in shaping philosophical thought. Historically, Aristotle's logic, based on categorical syllogisms, has been the most prominent until modern times. For example, the syllogism, "All men are mortal." Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is mortal, typifies Aristotelian logic. In contrast, Stoic logic, championed by Chrysippus, focuses on propositions and their relationships, such as, "If it is day, there is light. It is day. Therefore, there is light." This illustrates the fundamental differences between Aristotelian and Stoic logical frameworks. The validity of propositions in philosophy hinges on their truth conditions. Some philosophers, like Philo of Megara, argue that a proposition is true if its second part isn't demonstrably false while the first part holds true. For example, the claim, "If it is day, then I am great at explaining logic," is accepted as true if both parts are not contradicted, despite potential disputes about the second statement. Conversely, Chrysippus contends that a proposition is only true if falsifying the second part, the consequence, would invalidate the first part, the condition. Thus, the assertion, "If it is day, then I am bad at explaining logic," does not affect the truth of it being day, showing the lack of dependency between the two parts. Chrysippus argues that a true proposition relies on the dependency of its parts, illustrated by the example, "If it is day, there is light." This proposition holds true because if it were false, if it were dark, it must then be night, confirming the interdependence of the statement's parts. He further clarifies this with his argument forms, the first being, "If it is day, there is light, but it is day, therefore there is light." He uses a second form to emphasize this relationship. "If it is day, there is light, but there is not light, therefore it is not day," underscoring how the truth of one part dictates the truth of the other. While we won't delve into all the argument forms here, it's key to understand the fundamental aspects of Stoic and Chrysippon logic, which notably diverge from Aristotelian logic. For the Stoics, logic is a crucial foundational element that precedes studies in physics and ethics. Stoic physics, notably distinct from other philosophical traditions, lacks a metaphysical component because Stoics are strict materialists. They believe everything in existence, including the human soul and God, is material, rejecting any immaterial causes or entities, unlike Aristotelian or Platonic philosophies. Stoicism posits that the universe operates under two principles: a passive one, often termed prime matter, and an active, intelligent principle known as the logos. This concept of logos, more than merely translating to word as seen in biblical texts like the Gospel of John, embodies a complex principle of reason. It not only pertains to human rational capabilities but also represents a universal reason that governs the cosmos, aligning closely with divine entities like God or Zeus in Stoic thought. This dualistic view of the universe highlights its structured, reasoned, and ordered nature under the logos. Some Stoic texts exhibit a deeply religious tone, portraying a divine entity as the glorious and almighty ruler of the universe, synonymous with nature itself. Unlike gods that exist apart from the physical world, the Stoic God is pantheistic, deeply interwoven with the entirety of nature, governing the world according to universal laws. The Stoics, as materialists, view God not as an immaterial presence but rather as something physical, often referred to as pneuma, or a kind of ethereal fire. This isn't literal fire but represents a fine material essence similar to breath, permeating and integral to everything in nature. For Stoics, the terms God, nature, logos, and pneuma are interchangeable, all pointing to this pervasive material force that embodies the divine and the natural world. Alexander of Aphrodisias describes Chrysippus's concept of God as a unifying force, where all of existence is bound together by a pervasive essence known as pneuma. This essence not only connects but also sustains and sympathizes with all parts of the universe, embodying a fundamentally monistic philosophy where everything is inherently one. The Stoics view the divine principle, or logos, as a pantheistic God embodying reason, which governs all things and imposes a perfect order on nature. This concept is central to Stoic determinism, suggesting that all events are preordained by divine providence. Stoic texts frequently explore how everything in the universe, reflecting the logos, unfolds with reasoned precision, urging an appreciation for this perfection. Thus, everything that occurs should be seen as indifferent, since the logos, synonymous with nature itself, encompasses our own essence too. Humans are unique because we possess rational minds, allowing us to partake in the divine logos, or the reasoning principle that pervades nature. This participation aligns us with the divine, essentially enabling us to do God through our cognitive abilities. Marcus Aurelius emphasizes this in his writings, pointing out that God, or the divine essence, exists both within and around us, shaping the natural world through the logos. Living in accordance with nature, then, means aligning ourselves with this divine order, leading to profound ethical implications. Aurelius illustrates this concept in his Meditations, describing the universe as a unified organism with a single consciousness directing all natural events in a collaborative and interconnected web. This view underpins the Stoic belief in cosmic sympathy, or sympathia, the idea that every element in the universe is interconnected, influencing and dependent on each other, demonstrating a tangible, material interconnectedness, reflective of the Stoics' materialistic view of the divine. Though later interpreted more metaphysically by figures like the Neoplatonists, the Stoics viewed reality as an interconnected web where all elements are linked, a concept central to explaining phenomena such as divination and esoteric practices. This notion of cosmic interconnectedness, or sympathia, although prominently associated with Middle Stoic thinkers like Posidonius, who integrated some Platonic ideas, has deep roots in Stoic philosophy, reflecting its monistic view that all is one and interconnected. This philosophy transcends mere intellectual discourse, emphasizing practical application in daily life, focusing on living virtuously according to nature. Stoicism, known for its ethical teachings, is often simplified in modern discussions to practical advice for everyday problems, overshadowing its rich theoretical background in logic and physics. This holistic approach has influenced not just philosophy but also esotericism and mysticism throughout history. Stoicism is traditionally segmented into three phases by scholars. The initial phase, the early Stoa, emerged in Athens with foundational figures like Zeno, Cleanthes, and Chrysippus, establishing the school's core doctrines. The middle Stoa followed, centered in Rhodes with philosophers such as Panaetius and Posidonius, who integrated some Platonic concepts into Stoicism. The final phase, known as the late or Roman Stoa, saw the philosophy transition to the Roman Empire. This period includes well-known Stoics like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, whose works are the most recognized and have distinct traits linked to Roman Stoicism. Although this three-part division is simplified, it helps outline Stoicism's evolution and its enduring impact, particularly through its Roman phase. The Roman Stoics are particularly noted for their emphasis on ethics, a focus that is well documented due to the survival of their texts. Unlike the earlier phases of Stoicism, from which few complete works remain, a substantial amount of Roman Stoic writings have been preserved. This availability has made Roman Stoics like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius the most recognized figures associated with Stoicism, shaping the popular understanding of the philosophy primarily around their ethical teachings. Stoic ethics centrally advocate living in accordance with nature, an idea attributed to early Stoic leaders like Cleanthes and sometimes Zeno. This principle has expanded to include living in harmony with God or Zeus, reason or logos, and even one's true self, as these elements are considered synonymous within Stoicism. The concept of logos, a rational and divine force, dominates this philosophy, asserting that the universe and all within it, including humans, are governed by this principle of reason. Thus, to live a Stoic life is to align oneself with logos, viewing and engaging with the world through this divine and rational lens. Stoicism teaches that the only true good is virtue, viewing all other aspects of life such as health, wealth, and reputation as indifferent, neither inherently good nor bad, and incapable of leading to genuine happiness or causing unhappiness. This perspective is grounded in the belief that virtue consists of knowledge, specifically the understanding of things as dictated by the universal logos. In Stoic thought, all virtuous traits derive from this profound understanding of the natural order and the rational underpinnings of existence. Despite criticism from contemporaries like the skeptics, who questioned the dismissal of basic human needs as good, the Stoics maintain that well-being does not depend on external conditions but on one's internal state and knowledge. This Stoic viewpoint argues that understanding and aligning with the rational structure of the universe is what truly matters, beyond mere physical well-being. While some early Stoics adopted more extreme views, Chrysippus and subsequent Stoics distinguished between preferred and non-preferred indifference. They acknowledge that it is natural to prefer health over sickness and prosperity over poverty, aligning with the Stoic adherence to living according to nature. However, they maintain that such conditions, while preferable, do not inherently lead to happiness and thus should be regarded with indifference. This nuanced stance reflects the Stoic belief that true happiness derives not from external circumstances but from living a life of virtue. The Stoic doctrine, though complex and sometimes criticized by ancient philosophers, centers on the pursuit of virtue and knowledge over external approval. This principle is echoed in texts like Marcus Aurelius's Meditations and Epictetus's Discourses, which emphasize the impermanence of life and the importance of focusing on true virtues rather than fleeting externalities. Stoics advocate for a moderate lifestyle, not for aesthetic reasons but to avoid the undue pursuit of worldly pleasures, encouraging a focus on lasting values that contribute to a virtuous life. Stoicism teaches that true wealth lies not in extensive possessions, but in having few desires, emphasizing a dichotomy of control over our experiences. We can manage some aspects of our lives, such as our actions or reactions, by changing our posture or apologizing for misdeeds. However, many factors, like weather, aging, and death, are beyond our control and should not cause us distress, as they are governed by divine providence or natural reason. Stoics believe that becoming upset over inevitable events like death is as irrational as being upset over natural processes like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. They advocate accepting life's occurrences as part of a greater rational plan, embracing our departure from life with grace. Marcus Aurelius encapsulates this view, suggesting we should live harmoniously with nature and depart from life as gratefully as a ripe olive falls from a tree. Stoicism teaches that we should approach all aspects of life, especially those beyond our control, with equanimity. According to Stoic philosophy, everything occurs as part of a universal reason and the interconnectedness of the universe, so events should be accepted without disturbance to our inner peace. Stoics believe that no external force can truly harm our soul, only our perceptions can cause us pain. Thus, external criticisms or misfortunes should be met with indifference, focusing instead on cultivating virtues like kindness, honesty, and modesty. Ultimately, the only thing we can control is our own behavior and response, so our efforts should be directed towards maintaining virtue in our actions and attitudes. Stoic ethics are sometimes seen as promoting a detached demeanor, which somewhat simplifies their true philosophy. Stoics stress the importance of accepting life's events as they unfold, recognizing them as part of the divine order, and advocating for a readiness to relinquish them when necessary, especially those beyond our control. Marcus Aurelius encapsulates this approach in his concise yet profound advice: accept humbly, let go easily. Stoicism champions self-control and the use of reason to align with the universal logos, advocating for the management of emotions categorized into distress, fear, lust, and delight, and their associated feelings like anger and jealousy. The Stoics view these passions as misjudgments of value, where virtues are the only true goods and everything else is indifferent. By understanding the rational order of the universe, Stoics learn to detach from misplaced values assigned to passions. This knowledge helps them accept life's events, such as death, as natural occurrences, no different in essence from birth, seeing both as inevitable changes governed by nature's logic. Through mastering self-control and dismissing erroneous judgments about passions, Stoics achieve ataraxia, a state of contentment free from distress. The Stoics are often mischaracterized as cold and unemotional, but their philosophy actually teaches a moderate approach to emotions. They advocate understanding and experiencing emotions such as joy and pleasure with a clear, reasoned perspective, ensuring that these feelings do not dominate one's life. This is evident in the writings of Marcus Aurelius in Meditations, where he reflects on experiencing pleasures without letting them define him, even amidst the luxuries of being an emperor. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions, but managing them wisely, accepting both joy and pain without clinging to them. Aurelius emphasizes the importance of maintaining virtue in all circumstances, caring deeply for others and contributing to their well-being, which showcases the Stoics' rich, nuanced approach to ethical living. This Stoic advice suggests that true strength lies in calmness and self-control rather than anger, viewing the latter as a sign of weakness akin to pain. It emphasizes that maintaining a composed demeanor reflects genuine virility and human decency. The quote encourages mastering emotions as a path to personal power and resilience, underscoring the importance of focusing on self-improvement and virtue in our transient existence. Ultimately, it advocates for using our limited time wisely, prioritizing personal growth and the pursuit of becoming a better person. The concept of determinism in Stoicism might appear contradictory, as it suggests that all events and human actions are preordained by a divine logic or logos, implying a lack of free will. Everything, according to Stoicism, unfolds from a predetermined sequence of cause and effect, meaning our lives and choices are part of a fixed, cosmic plan. Despite this, Stoics maintain that individuals still bear moral responsibility. They argue that while the broader outcomes and circumstances are fated, how we respond to these and the ethical choices we make remain within our control, emphasizing the role of personal virtue and moral accountability in living a Stoic life. The Stoics reconcile free will and determinism through compatibilism, suggesting that both can coexist. While Stoicism recognizes that actions are influenced by predetermined causes, it also asserts that individual responses are shaped by personal character and mental state. This means that, even within predetermined frameworks, people have the capacity to make unique choices based on their disposition and morals. Therefore, individuals can still be commended for their actions if they align with virtuous behavior, supporting the idea that personal responsibility remains intact despite overarching determinism. Chrysippus illustrates the concept of free will within determinism using the metaphor of a cylinder being pushed down a slope, as recounted by Cicero. While the push initiates the cylinder's movement, its inherent shape dictates how it rolls, unlike a rock or cube that might behave differently under the same force. This analogy suggests that while external forces can set our actions into motion, the nature of our response, how we roll, so to speak, is determined by our inherent characteristics. This demonstrates that while some aspects of our actions are preordained, how we react to situations remains under our control, highlighting a form of compatibilism. However, this explanation does acknowledge the complexity and limitations in fully reconciling free will with determinism. Dorothea Frieda uses the analogy of a person being offered a bribe to illustrate how our inner nature influences our choices, despite external circumstances initiating these opportunities. The decision to accept or deny the bribe reflects one's character, yet the presence of the bribe itself triggers the need to make a decision. Frieda argues that while our behaviors may follow certain patterns due to our personality, this doesn't remove personal responsibility. Instead, it highlights our predispositions, which can still be molded by experiences. She notes that societal feedback, such as reprimands or rewards, can significantly alter our behavior over time by influencing our internal conditions, suggesting that personal growth and change are always possible. Stoicism, through its principle of compatibilism, supports both determinism and the concepts of moral responsibility and self-improvement. Despite facing historical criticism, this approach is a defining feature of Stoic philosophy. Stoicism is structured around three primary categories: logic, physics, and ethics, all of which have profoundly influenced the broader field of philosophy, marking its significance throughout history. Despite their strong rationalism and materialism, the Stoics have also significantly influenced esotericism and esoteric hermeneutics. This might be surprising given their philosophical background, but Stoicism introduced the practice of looking beyond the literal interpretation of texts, suggesting deeper, hidden meanings. This approach, known as esoteric hermeneutics, involves interpreting sacred and classical texts like the Bible, the Quran, or Homer's epics to uncover underlying truths that aren't immediately apparent on the surface. Stoics believe that everything in the universe is interconnected, following a divine order or logos, which also manifests in texts through layered meanings. They were pioneers in reading texts esoterically, seeing stories of gods and heroes as allegories for deeper philosophical truths. This method, which they applied to understanding the universe's workings and predicting future events through signs in nature, laid groundwork for later philosophical and religious interpretations by figures like Philo of Alexandria, influencing the development of major religions. Stoicism, once the predominant philosophical school of the Hellenistic age, saw a decline with the rise of Neoplatonism, but its principles have persisted through history. Key Stoic concepts, like sympatheia, were incorporated into Neoplatonism by thinkers like Plotinus. Later philosophers such as Spinoza also showed strong Stoic influences. His pantheistic view, equating God with nature, mirrors Stoic beliefs about the divine and the natural world. Moreover, Spinoza's deterministic philosophy closely aligns with Stoic thought. Evidence of Stoicism's influence on Spinoza is even seen in his personal library in Rheinsberg, which contains works by the Stoic philosopher Seneca. Stoicism remains highly relevant today, not only as a fascinating ancient philosophy, but also due to its significant impact on modern thinking. For instance, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, draws heavily on Stoic principles, particularly the ideas of Epictetus, such as the belief that it's not things that upset us, but our judgments about them. This approach has proven effective in helping people manage issues like anxiety and depression globally. Stoicism, originating from figures like Zeno, Cleanthes, and Chrysippus in Athens, continues to influence both directly in fields like psychology and indirectly through its impact on philosophical schools like Neoplatonism. It offers valuable insights into human thinking and behavior that remain applicable today, contributing to its lasting legacy in shaping intellectual thought worldwide. This introduction aims to highlight Stoicism's broad contributions and ongoing relevance, appreciating the support from those who engage with and support this content, ensuring the continuation and dissemination of such educational material.